The city is a festering wound under a sky vomiting black rain, the kind that stings like acid and smells of rot. A dumpster fire roars in an alley off 3rd Street, its orange tongues licking the night, spitting smoke that chokes the air with the stench of burning trash and despair. Against a crumbling brick wall, a man slumps a jagged silhouette, his breath curling in the damp cold like a dying man's last gasp. Jericho Kane, once the U.S. military's most feared executioner, a phantom who turned war zones into slaughterhouses, now a broken shell in a coat, shredded by time and guilt. His hands, scarred and trembling, clutch a tin flask whiskey to drown the echoes of gunfire, the screams of men he buried in deserts and jungles, their names scrubbed from files that never saw daylight. He chose this hell alley's cardboard tombs to chain the beast he'd become, to let it rot in silence. But tonight, the beast smells blood, and its cage is cracking. A patrol car screeches to a halt at the alley's mouth, tires grinding glass into the pavement, its headlights slicing through the storm like a predator's glare. 4 cops spill out, their laughter sharp and vicious, cutting the rain's roar. Leading them is Sergeant Mason Creed, a hulking brute with a shaved head, eyes like coal pits, and a grin that promises pain. He's a man who thrives on breaking things' bones, spirits, lives, and this alley is his kingdom. He spots Jericho, and that grin twists into something feral, hungry. "Well, fuck me sideways," Creed growls, cracking his knuckles loud enough to echo off the walls. "A rat in my sewer." Jericho doesn't move, his gaze locked on the fire, counting the embers 1, 2, 3, as if their heartbeats he snuffed out. Creed stomps closer, baton swinging loose in his grip, rain dripping off his uniform like blood off a blade. "You hear me, you filthy piece of shit? This ain't your gutter to die in." The squad fans out 3 jackals circling a wounded lion. Officer Lucas Harrow, the youngest, lingers back, his hand twitching near his holster, face tight with something that might be doubt. Officers Burke and Teller flank Creed, their smirks mirroring his, hands resting on guns like they're itching to draw. "Sarge, maybe we just..." Harrow starts, voice thin against the storm. "Shut your fucking hole, kid," Creed snaps, spitting a glob of phlegm into the mud at Jericho's feet. He kicks the battered satchel slumped beside him, tearing it open. A rusted razor skitters out, a dog-eared Bible thumps into a puddle, and a dented tin box clatters against the wall, its lid popping loose. "What's this garbage? Your stash junkie?" Creed sneers, stomping the Bible into the muck. "Mine," Jericho says, voice low and rough, a blade dragged over stone. Creed's grin widens, and he snatches the tin box, prying it open with dirty fingers. Inside, a single bullet casing, etched with tally marks, dozens, maybe hundreds, and a photo. Edges charred, a woman's face scratched out, her eyes gouged into black pits. "War junkie, huh?" Creed laughs, a sound like breaking glass. He tosses the casing into the filth, grinding the photo under his heel until it's pulp. "Look at you now, trash, with a past." Jericho's eyes shift, slow and deliberate, locking onto Creed's. Something stirs in them, cold, bottomless, an abyss that swallowed cities whole. "Put it back," he says, each word a quiet detonation, heavy with warning. Creed's laugh falters, replaced by a snarl, his face flushing red. "Or what, you broke-ass relic? You gonna cry?" He slams his baton into the wall, an inch from Jericho's head, concrete dust exploding. Harrow shifts, uneasy, his breath catching. Burke and Teller chuckle, hands tightening on their weapons, egging Creed on. "You deaf maggot." Creed roars, jabbing the baton into Jericho's chest, hard enough to bruise bone. He expects a groan, a collapse, something to feed his sadism. Instead, Jericho stands, slow and inevitable, like a guillotine blade rising. The alley seems to shrink, the air thickening with a tension that tastes like iron. "I said don't touch me," he murmurs, and it's not a plea, it's a death sentence. Creed's face twists, rage, humiliation, a flicker of fear he buries under bravado. "Take him," he bellows, swinging the baton again. Burke lunges first. Fist cocked, Jericho sidesteps, grabs his arm, twists until the elbow snaps with a wet crack. Burke screams, collapsing, clutching the ruin of his limb. Teller charges, Drawing his gun, Jericho's knee slams into his jaw, teeth scattering like bloody dice across the pavement. Harrow freezes, pistol half out, eyes wide as Creed swings again. Jericho catches the baton mid-strike, wrenches it free with a twist that nearly dislocates Creed's wrist, and drives it into the sergeant's gut. Creed doubles over, gasping, vomit splashing his boots. Jericho doesn't stop. 2 precise strikes to the throat, cartilage crunching, and Creed's on his knees, choking on blood and bile, his face a mask of shock and pain. "Enough!" Harrow yells, gun shaking in his grip, aimed at Jericho's chest. Jericho turns, hands open, calm as a grave. "You're next if you pull that," he says, voice flat, eyes boring into Harrow's soul. The rookie hesitates too long. Creed staggers up, clawing for his radio, blood bubbling from his lips. "Back up now. Get this fucker." Sirens wail in the distance as the squad swarms, fists and boots raining down. Jericho doesn't fight back, not yet. They cuff him, steel biting his wrists, kicks splitting his ribs. Blood pools beneath him, swirling with the rain, but his breathing stays steady. 2, 3, a memory flashing, a sniper's nest in Iraq, a dictator's skull bursting at 100 yards, brain matter painting the sand. They drag him to the car, Creed spitting curses through a ruined throat. "You're dead, freak. Dead." Jericho's eyes meet Harrow's in the rearview as they peel out. "Should have walked away," he says, soft as a prayer, a promise. The precinct cell is a concrete tomb, piss, soaked, walls slashed with graffiti, flies buzzing over stains that might be blood or worse. Jericho sits on a rusted bench, blood crusting his face in jagged ribbons, hands cuffed behind him. He doesn't flinch, doesn't blink, just scans. One guard, fat and bored, flipping a magazine, a camera with a cracked lens. Blind in one corner, a rusted bolt in the doorframe, loose enough to pry. His mind churns escape routes, kill zones, odds stacking like bullets in a clip. He doesn't sleep, sleeps for the innocent. He remembers instead Syria, a warlord's convoy shredded, 3 shots, 3 headshots, 20 seconds flat. Colombia, a cartel boss gutted in his penthouse, blood pooling on marble as his guards screamed. Somalia, a pirate king's throat slit on his own ship, the ocean drinking his last breath. Every kill a brick in the wall he built to keep the world out, to keep the beast caged, until now. Until Creed kicked the bars loose. Across the precinct, Harrow's gut twists with dread. The man's too still, too wrong, like a bomb with no ticker. He runs the Prince routine. He tells himself until the screen flares red. Classified. Clearance level 6. Contact Pentagon immediately. His breath catches, sharp and cold. "Sarge," he calls, voice tight, barely above a whisper. Creed lumbers over, reeking of sweat and fury, his neck bruised purple, voice a rasp. "What, rookie?" Systems locked him out. Says call the Pentagon. Creed snorts, wiping blood from his split lip. "Bullshit. Some glitch for a street rat?" The phone rings before Harrow can argue, shrill and insistent. "Harrow," he answers, hand trembling. A voice cuts through, sharp as a bayonet. "Major General Daniel Voss, Pentagon Black Ops Division. You've got Jericho Kane in custody. Let him go. Erase every trace. Now." Harrow's mouth goes dry, his pulse hammering in his ears. "Sir, do it, or you're a ghost too, son." This never happened. The line dies with a click that feels like a gunshot. "Pentagon," Harrow stammers, turning to Creed, who's glaring like he might snap his neck. "They want him out. Immediately." Creed's eyes narrow to slits, his breath hissing through clenched teeth. "Fuck that. He assaulted me, broke my goddamn crew. He rots till I say he walks." He storms off, leaving Harrow staring at the screen, heart pounding, wondering what kind of monster pulls strings that high, and why Creed's too stupid to care. Morning claws its way through the storm with a grey, sickly light, the cell block buzzing with tired curses and clanging metal. A guard grunts through the bars. "Kane, you're sprung." Jericho rises, blood flaking off his face, movements smooth and deliberate, despite the bruises blooming across his ribs. Creed waits at the processing desk, his face a swollen mess, shoving a soggy bag of belongings across the counter minus the tin box, lost to the gutter. Think you've got juice, huh, freak? He rasps, voice like gravel over glass. This is my turf. You don't scare me. Jericho reclaims what's left, his silence a blade twisting in Creed's gut. Nothing to say. Creed taunts, leaning in, breath sour with beer and hate. Jericho's gaze flicks to him, then away, a dismissal that stings worse than a punch. We're not done, you piece of shit. Creed hisses, spit flecking Jericho's coat. Jericho passes Harrow at the exit, pausing just long enough to murmur, "Pick your masters better, kid," before stepping into the dawn. A predator, slipping its leash. 5 blocks from the precinct, a grey van idles unmarked, windows blacked out, engine purring like a beast waiting to pounce. 2 men inside, ex-military by their rigid posture and clipped movements, track Jericho with cold precision. He cuts into an alley, senses prickling, the hair on his neck standing like it did before ambushes in Kandahar. Footsteps. Echo 4 shadows materialize, closing the trap. They're not cops, too fluid, too lethal. Their movement screaming training. Hold it right there. A voice growls, thick with a Russian accent. A bald thug with a neck tattoo steps forward, pistol glinting wet in the rain, his scarred face twisted into a sneer. "Victor Drago wants you alive." Jericho turns, slow, hands loose at his sides, rain dripping from his hood. "Don't know him," he says, voice flat, eyes scanning. 2 with guns, 1 with a knife, 1 with fists like hammers. "He knows you," Tattoo says, racking the slide with a metallic clack. 10 years back, you fucked his Afghan pipeline. 1 shot, his brother's brains all over the sand. Victor's been dreaming of your head on a spike ever since. Victor Drago, war profiteer, slaver, a name Jericho buried with a bullet through his kin's skull. A shot that cratered an empire. You're coming with us, or you'll meet right here. Jericho's face goes blank, humanity draining as combat math takes over. 4, armed, tight quarters, rain slowing their reflexes. "Last chance, dog," Tattoo warns, finger tightening on the trigger. Jericho moves. It's over in 19 seconds. A symphony of death in the downpour. Tattoo fires, Jericho twists, the bullet grazing his arm, hot and sharp, then drives his elbow into the man's windpipe with a sickening crunch. Tattoo gurgles, collapsing, hands clawing at his throat as blood foams from his mouth. The second swings a machete, blade hissing through the air. Jericho catches the wrist, snaps it like dry wood, and buries the steel in the thug's chest, ribs cracking as it sinks to the hilt. The third pulls a shotgun, pump racking. Jericho rolls, mud splashing, grabs Tattoo's pistol from the filth, and fires twice, both rounds punching through the man's skull, brain matter splattering the wall. The fourth bolts, boots slipping. Jericho's bullet catches him between the shoulders, spine severed, body flopping like a rag doll. He strips the pistol, 5 rounds left, and searches the corpses. Cash, no IDs, a burner phone. Blood mixes with the rain, washing red rivers into the gutter. He dials a ghost number from memory, voice steady despite the sting in his arm. "They're back," he says, crushing the phone under his heel as sirens rise in the distance, a wail he knows too well. Creed's nursing a beer in his patrol car, hands shaking, the taste sour against the copper tang of his own blood still lingering in his mouth. His burner buzzes, an unknown number flashing. He answers, voice a rasp. "Yeah? Creed, your alley trash just butchered 4 of my best in seconds." A voice snarls, Victor Drago, icy, with barely contained rage. "Who the hell? The guy paying you to keep my shipment smooth, you dumb fuck. You poked a demon." The government disowned Jericho Kane. "More kills than cancer, more bodies than you've got brain cells. Fix this, or I'll carve your badge out of your chest and mail it to your widow." Creed's beer slips, shattering on the floorboard, glass cutting his hand. "I didn't know. You don't get paid to know. Find him, end him, or I end you." The line dies, and Creed's breath comes in ragged gasps, the alley replaying those eyes. That calm, the way he broke Burke's arm like it was nothing. He's fucked, and he knows it, the realization sinking into his bones like lead. Jericho ditches his rags at a rail yard, the air thick with diesel and rust. An old contact, Rusty, ex-ranger, face a roadmap of scars, meets him under a flickering sodium light. "Gear," Jericho says, voice a low growl. Rusty hands over a duffel, fresh clothes, a burner phone, a car knife, with a blade that's tasted more blood than most men's guns. Drago's hunting you hard, Rusty warns, voice rough from too many cigarettes. He started it, Jericho replies, checking the knife's edge with a thumb, blood welling where it bites. A text pings on the burner. Drago's mobilized everything. You're dead meat. Jericho's jaw tightens, a muscle twitching under the stubble. Not yet, he says, vanishing into the night, a storm brewing in his wake. The beast fully awake now, claws unsheathed. Drago slams a steel table in his penthouse, glass shattering across the marble floor, bourbon soaking into a Persian rug, worth more than most men's lives. Security footage loops on a wall screen, Jericho tearing through his men in the alley, a machine of meat and bone, each move a death sentence. Again, he barks, voice a whip crack. His enforcer Ivan restarts it, sweat beading on his shaved head. Drago leans in, eyes bloodshot, studying the precision, no wasted motion, just blood and silence. Jericho Kane, he spits, venom dripping from the name like poison. 10 years, I've wanted his skull on my desk. He's been dark 5 years, even says, voice cautious. No trace, no handlers. He's a snake. Drago snaps, shedding skin, waiting to strike. He pulls a tablet, swiping to a redacted file. Confirmed kills. Redacted. Psychological eval. Psychopathic precision under stress. He gutted my Afghan cash cow. Drago growls, finger stabbing the screen. One shot. My brother's head gone, brains painting the dirt. 10 years of profit, burned. Orders. Ivan asks, shifting as if the room's too small. Rip this city apart. Find where he sleeps, where he shits, who he talks to. Call Creed his screw-up, his blood on the line. Creed chain smokes in his patrol car, hands trembling, the radio buzzing with static and dread. 4 dead in alley hit. No witnesses, no leads. His burner rings again, penthouse. Now, come alone, D. He drives, dread pooling in his gut, the city blurring past like a nightmare he can't wake from. Across town, Harrow digs deeper, chasing Kane's ghost through databases that slam shut with every click. Redacted files, classified ops, dead ends. A report pings. A body dropped near the rail yard. Creed's snitch, gut slashed open, intestines spilling like wet rope. The precinct's buzzing now, whispers of a ghost. A killer loose. Shit spiraling, and Harrow feels it in his bones. Jericho kneels in a derelict garage, the air thick with oil and mildew, assembling a sniper rifle each. Click a death knell, each piece slotted with ritualistic care. Rusty watches from the shadows, leaning against a rusted toolbox. Drago's got muscle, cash, half the cops in his pocket, he says, lighting a smoke. You're one man. One's enough, Jericho replies, sighting down the scope, adjusting it with fingers that know death like a lover's touch. Why now? You've been a shadow for years. He's selling kids, Jericho says, voice flat but edged with something raw. Cages in his docks, shipping 'em like cattle. Rusty's cigarette pauses mid-drag, his eyes darkening. Proof? Enough to gut him slow. Been watching his port's crates with air holes, screams muffled by tape. Silence falls, cold and heavy, the kind that follows a kill. Then he dies screaming, Jericho adds, a rare heat breaking through the ice. Rusty slides a USB drive across the workbench. Drago's world, safe houses, guards, money trails. Cost me 2 favors and a pint of blood. Appreciated, Jericho says, pocketing it without a glance. Don't die out there, Rusty calls as Jericho shoulders the rifle. Not planning to, he replies, stepping into the rain, a hunter with a scent. A package hits the precinct. The next morning, Creed's name, scrawled in black marker. No source, no postmark, like it clawed its way out of the dark. He rips it open in the break room, coffee sloshing as his hands shake. Inside, A45 bullet, his badge number carved deep into the brass, and a note scratched in jagged ink. You're first, pig. His breath catches, a wheeze rattling from his bruised throat, and he dials Drago, fumbling the phone. He's coming for me, he croaks. Then kill him before he gets close. Drago snaps, voice a blade through the line. You've got one job. Creed, don't fuck it up again. Across the street, Jericho scopes Creed's panic from a fire escape. Rain streaking his face could end him now. One shot through the window, brain on the wall. But that's too clean. Creed needs fear first, the kind that eats you alive, makes every shadow a noose. Drago's tower looms downtown, a fortress of glass and steel, cameras on every corner, mercs in suits pacing the lobby. Jericho maps it from a condemned building opposite, guard rotations, blind spots, a service duct too narrow for most. Every stronghold has a crack he's breached worse. Harrow steps into Drago's penthouse, badge a flimsy shield against the weight of the room, marble floors, gold fixtures, a view that owns the city. Drago waits, tall and lean, eyes glittering with cruel delight, a predator in a tailored suit. Jericho Kane, Harrow says, voice steady despite the sweat on his palms. Drago's smile is a razor's edge. Why's a nobody got your army and my precinct chasing him? He's a reaper, Drago says, stepping closer, bourbon on his breath. Hundreds dead by his hand soldiers. Warlords, my own blood. My handiwork's on his kill list. What'd you do to him? Harrow presses, holding ground. Crossed his scope, Drago replies, voice dropping low. Kabul, 10 years back. One bullet, my brother's head gone, my empire bleeding out. He's here to finish me. I'll think about helping, Harrow says, jaw tight. Think fast, Drago warns, eyes narrowing to slits, or you're ash with the rest. A guard escorts him out, and Harrow feels the noose tightening, Drago's shadow swallowing the light. Rain turns the streets into rivers, a deluge that drowns sound and sight, perfect for the trap. Creed meets Drago at the Black Fang, a den of vice and cash, its neon sign buzzing like a dying fly. In a back room stained with blood and cigarette burns, Drago sits with Silas Crow, ex-SEAL, eyes like a shark's, a southern drawl hiding a killer's edge. You let him slip, Drago says, voice cold as a grave. He's a ghost, Creed pleads, sweat beading on his swollen face. Not to Crow, Drago replies, nodding to the merc. My team's here, killers bred like him, no conscience. My role, Creed asks, voice cracking. Meet Shield, Crow drawls, cracking a knuckle. Creed's stomach drops, bile rising. Heal. He's marked you. Drago cuts in, leaning forward. That bullet with your number? He's playing. We'll watch, armed to the teeth. He shows. Crow cuts him down. And if they fail? Creed's voice is a whisper. Fear naked now. They won't, Crow says, a grin splitting his scarred face. I've buried better men than him. Creed slumps, trapped, the room closing in like a coffin. Jericho scopes the Black Fang from a rooftop across the street, rain streaking his face, scope fogging slightly in the downpour. Crow's team lurks snipers on adjacent roofs, thermals cutting through the wet, overlapping fields of fire. Predictable textbook. He shifts gears, needs a chokehold, not a firefight. Across town, Harrow sits at his kitchen table, files spread like a battlefield, his wife Mia watching from the doorway, worry etching her face. It's 2 a.m. Lucas, she says, voice soft but strained, holding their 3-year-old, Lily, asleep in her arms. I'm in deep, he replies, eyes bloodshot, hands shaking as he flips through reports. A creak outside, he draws his service pistol, moves to the window, peers through the blinds. The streets empty, rain slicked, streetlights flickering, but the air feels wrong, heavy with threat. Mia, take Lily to the bedroom, he whispers, grip tightening. Lock it. Call 911 if you hear anything. She nods, clutching their daughter tighter, fear flashing in her eyes as she retreats. He turns to the door and freezes. Officer Harrow, a voice says, calm and low, cutting through the silence like a blade. Jericho sits at the table, flipping through Harrow's files with scarred hands, rain dripping from his coat onto the floor. How the hell your window's shit? Jericho interrupts, not looking up. No locks, no sensors. Amateur. Harrow aims, finger on the trigger, heart hammering. Give me one reason not to blow your head off. Jericho meets his eyes, unblinking, a void staring back. I'm not here to kill you, he says. If I were, you'd be cold already. Drago's trafficking kids, cages, chains, sold to monsters. Creed's his dog, burying the evidence. Choose a side. He slides a USB drive across the table, its surface scratched and dull. What's this? Harrow asks, gun steady, but voice wavering. Hell, Jericho replies. Proof videos, ledgers, Creed's voice on tape, Drago's trap set tomorrow, Creed's bait. I'll break it my way. Need chaos to choke 'em. I don't kill cops, Harrow snaps, stepping closer. I kill what needs killing, Jericho says, standing slow, hands visible. Decide where you stand when this blows open. He's gone before Harrow can blink, melting into the night, leaving the drive like a live grenade on the table. The next night, Creed sweats in his patrol car outside his apartment, parked under a flickering streetlight, Crow's shadows unseen but promised. His radio crackles with routine calls. He ignores acting normal's the plan, but his hands shake too hard to grip the mic. Darkness falls, thick and oppressive, and a text buzzes. SS Day put. Movement on your block. His heart slams against his ribs. Kane's coming. He can feel it. A noose tightening. Minutes stretch into an hour, agonizing, silent except for the rain's relentless drum. Then the radio explodes. Our docks ablaze. Multiple explosions. Bodies reported. Cargo breached. Creed's blood freezes. Drago's main smuggling hub torched. His burner rings. Drago's voice rabid. He hit my docks. Not you. Kids in crates gone. Get there now. Creed floors it. Tires squealing. Panic blinding him until Jericho steps into his headlights. A shadow made flesh. He slams the brakes. Reaches for his gun too slow. The driver's window shatters. Glass cutting his face. And Jericho's hand clamps his throat. A needle jabbing deep. Told you, Jericho whispers. Eyes black as death. And darkness swallows Creed whole. Harrow stares at the USBs. Footage on his laptop, kids in chains. Faces hollow with terror. Unloaded from containers like livestock. Creed's voice barking orders in the background. Move 'em quick. No fuck-ups. Jesus Christ. Mia gasps. One hand over her mouth. The other clutching the doorframe. Half my precinct's dirty, Harrow says. Voice hollow. Hands trembling as he scrolls through financials, bribes. Payoffs. Creed's name everywhere. He's Drago's inside man. Has been for years. The TV blares. Breaking news. FBI storms docks after explosions. Human trafficking suspected. Jericho calls. Voice cutting through static. Channel 9 now. Harrow switches it on. Chopper footage shows flames licking the sky. FBI swarming. Crates pried open, revealing huddled forms. You did this? Harrow asks, gripping the phone. Blew it wide, Jericho says. Calm as ever. Targeted storage. No civilians. Kids are out. Where's Creed? With me, Jericho replies. Safe, for now. You in or out? Mia squeezes his hand, her eyes hard with resolve despite the fear. I'm in, Harrow says, voice firm. What's the play? Meet me at the old steel mill, 1 hour. Come alone, no tail. Drago rages in his safe house, a concrete bunker buried under the city's edge. As news flashes, FBI raids his docks, his warehouses, his empire crumbling. One man, he screams at Crow, hurling a chair into a wall, splintering it. One fucking man. He's a plague, Crow says, stone-faced, checking his rifle. Intel was off. He's got help, resources. Creed's found an hour later, dumped in a parking garage, drugged and twitching. A note taped to his chest. Crosshairs on your throat, Drago. Lock it down, Drago orders, voice trembling with fury. Every man, every gun, thermal, drones, the works. Done, Crow says. Jaw tight. Team 2's at Harrow's place. Wife and kid are bait. Your call. Wait, Drago snarls, pacing. Draw him out. Let him bleed first. Jericho scopes Drago's cliffside fortress from a ridge. 2 miles out, waves crash below. The mansion, a steel and glass monolith bristling with guards. Snipers on the roof. Patrols in tight loops. Harrow calls, voice ragged. Mia and Lily are safe. Your guy got him out before Drago's hit squad rolled in. Casualties? None on our side. Your friend's a beast. Took 3 down silent. Cole ex Green Beret, a brother from the dark days. Stay with them, Jericho says, strapping on a thermal cloak, packing C4 and jammers into a vest. This ends tonight. Alone against that? Harrow presses. Not my first fortress, Jericho replies, voice cold as the steel in his hand. Drago expects a hunter. He'll get a phantom. At the safe house, a ramshackle cabin 20 miles out, Cole guards Harrow's family, his shoulder patched from a graze, blood staining his tack vest. Mia clutches Lily, eyes darting to the windows. "He'll make it?" she asks, voice thin. "If anyone can," Cole grunts, checking his rifle. "It's Jericho." Police chatter crackles on a radio. Explosions at Drago's estate. Gunfire reported. "It started," Cole says, grim. Drago's in his war room when Crow bursts in. Perimeters hit, 2 teams gone. No response. "He's here," Crow breathes, sweat beading. Lights flicker and die. Generators kicking in with a sickly red glow. Power's cut, Crow confirms, drawing his sidearm. Jericho's voice hacks their comms. Low and lethal. "You're mine, Drago." A series of blasts rocks the compound, outer walls crumble. Screams cut short. Crow stares, fear cracking his mask. "We're fucked." Jericho storms through. The Chaos Guards drop like flies. Throats slit, skulls popped with silenced rounds. He climbs a vent shaft, muscles burning, emerges behind a squad on the 2nd floor. 4 die in seconds. Knives and bullets carving silence. Crow drags Drago to the chopper pad, rotors spinning, rain whipping the air. Jericho takes cover behind a pillar, scopes the scene. 1 shot could shred the engine, ground it, but his burner buzzes. "Jericho, they've got Mia and Lily." Harrow yells, gunfire popping in the background. "Cole's pinned too many." Drago called. Harrow rushes on. "Back off or they're dead." Through the scope, Jericho locks eyes with Drago boarding the chopper, a smirk flashing across his face. "Location," Jericho growls, sprinting for a garage, blood dripping from his grazed arm. Harrow rattles it off. 20 miles. "Eta, 17 minutes, Jericho says, hot wiring a sleek bike. "Keep 'em alive. They won't last," Harrow pleads. "Then pray," Drago gloats. Jericho snaps, roaring into the night. Cole's voice crackles through static. Perimeters breached. 8 hostiles. More coming. Last stand. "Hold," Jericho commands, pushing the bike to its limit, engine screaming. "Too late, brother," Cole says, softer. "Get him out." The line dies. The safe house looms ahead, muzzle flashes lighting the dark. Jericho coasts in, drops 3 mercs. 9 seconds, heads Bakuretsu, in the rain. Inside, Cole's down, a grenade's blast shredding his legs, blood pooling. Jericho ends the last interior threat, knife to the throat, arterial spray painting the wall. Drago's chopper lands, spotlight glaring. "Kane out, or they're pulp," Drago bellows. "Tunnel," Jericho tells Harrow, shoving him toward the basement. 50 yards north, storm shelter. "Go, you, now." Harrow bolts. Jericho steps into the light, hands up, knife tucked at his spine. Drago grins behind 6 guns, rain plastering his hair. "Jericho Kane, my brother's ghost." "He died quick," Jericho says, voice steady despite the blood seeping from his arm. "You won't." "Kill him," Drago snarls. Jericho dives, knife rips a throat. Pistol snatched. 5 shots. 5 corpses in a heartbeat. Drago fires wildly. Bullets tear Jericho's arm, chest, hot agony flaring, but he keeps coming, relentless. He tackles Drago, blade plunging between ribs, twisting slow. For the kids, he hisses, carving deeper. Drago screams, blood bubbling, gun falling, as Jericho rips the knife free, then stabs again, and again gutting him like a pig, a red ruin in the mud. Harrow's back, 1 merc left. Jericho ends him, bullet through the eye. "He's gone," Jericho gasps, blood pouring, vision blurring. FBI, Voss, networks alive. They stagger out, Drago's corpse staring at the sky, rain washing the gore away. Days later, headlines scream, trafficking empire collapses, Drago dead in bloodbath. Harrow sits by Jericho's hospital bed, machines beeping. The man a mess of tubes and bandages, 2 bullets pulled from his chest, ribs cracked, arm shredded. "Saved thousands," Harrow says, voice low. FBI's tearing it apart. Jericho wakes, eyes sharp despite the haze. "Not done," he rasps. Voss enters, grey hair stiff, handing Harrow a folder, Crimson Syndicate, Anton Shade. "My mentor's brother," Jericho says, gripping the bedrail, knuckles white. "I killed him, Shade's next. Rest." Harrow urges, seeing the blood seeping through bandages. No, Jericho rips tubes free, standing despite the pain, a machine screaming. We hunt now. Months later, Harrow now Ethan Cole watches his daughter in a new suburban yard, Lily chasing butterflies under a sky too clean for their past. A package arrives, a Special Forces coin, a USB. Jericho's voice plays, shades alive, syndicates growing, Siberia's their heart. A call, 2 minutes. An SUV rolls up. At a black site, Jericho and Voss, brief attack team, rugged faces, eyes like Jericho's. Shades consolidating, Voss says. One shot to end it. My family? Safe, Jericho vows. Always. We'll bury him, Harrow says, resolute. Yes, Jericho nods, rifle gleaming. The war reignites, a blade unsheathed once more.